Chapter 26 Secrets of War. After training at the Rose Temples, all of us were exhausted from the practice. On top of that, there was news all over the world which had spread of the wars and chaos. It was all madness, yet the spirits seemed to be aware of something beyond it, and so they sang out through their spiritual bodies, which were formless. And so they said, "This world is dark and full of sorrow, but there will come a bright tomorrow. When we sing the holy name in praise of him who came, Lord Krishna's moon is rising, though it's not at all surprising that we're all singing in the street. Soon everyone will meet Lord Krishna," they sang. "Oh, but this war, what for?" Now one of the many necklaces upon the wall began to swing back and forth. As if trying to hint at a secret, I placed it around my neck when this unique necklace wanted to be worn. A moment later, the necklace began to whisper, and it was quite auspicious. And as if to test it, I pulled it back off when all I heard was silence. Again I lowered it, and once the necklace got past my ears, I heard it whisper, "Let me teach you, my child. Let me explain why the powers at be have bombed the world. Go on, I'm listening. Once upon a time, not so long ago, there once was a man, a real Yahoo, who has a history of being rude, loud, stupid, and uncouth. He is one of the original earth monsters, and his life got tangled in a sort of net. All in an effort to take command, his original intention was to protect. Long ago, his nation underwent a terrible catastrophe, and so there were many wars which led to this war, and it was due to an ethnic cleansing. It was very horrible, and not many were alive back then to explain the horrific facts. And once that terrible war ended all those years ago, the people at risk had to take dramatic measures so that their traditions would not collapse. Imagine being threatened from a terrible evil, and how would it feel if you were attacked? And if such an evil force threatened to exterminate your race, you would feel anything but relaxed. Oh, war is horrific, always is and always will be. Yet that war from so long ago planted a very dark seed. Isn't it fascinating that everyone everywhere seeks the same simple things, like a family, safety, food, a place to sleep, and a home? When someone threatens this, it changes the way we see the world, and rather than live in peace or harmony, we find ourselves at war. Now, as the years came and went, land was given to those who were persecuted by a council of nations. Yet this land had been occupied by another group, and so it came with its fair share of problems. And instead of making it work together, there was a decision to create borders and boundaries. This aspect of separation pushed the two groups further apart, which increased the violence and defensive measures, as both sides felt threatened. So there was fear planted in both opposing governments. Willing to do anything, the fear began to eat away, and before long, so much pain and suffering attacked both sides that no one could think straight. Just as one group finally wanted peace, the other would attack. Now there is much I have failed to explain and express, but this leads us to the present, and since survival is at stake, so rose this earth monster who swore to protect his nation. And so he made a deep promise. In the early 1990s, he said that within 3 to 5 years, or even months, his enemies would develop nuclear weapons. Then after the 3 to 5 years was up, and nothing happened, he explained with even more conviction that within 5 years max, his enemies would then have developed nuclear weapons. All because of a terrible fear that his country and people would be exterminated because of what happened in the past. And when that time was up, he spoke that his enemies were were extremely close to weapons of mass destruction. Then after nothing happened, he came to meet a big council of nations and drew a red line and said, "It's going to happen." Again and again, he said his enemies were going to build that big bomb and kill everyone, but it didn't happen. And until this recent war, when he pulled in another great nation, he forced another earth monster to attack with him. Oh, but there is something we must consider, how these earth monsters live in fear. Because back in the early 1990s, the earth monster explained, as an article stated, "America is our golden calf, and we will suck it dry, chop it up, and sell it off, piece by piece, until there's nothing left but the world's biggest welfare state that we will create and control." Now silence filled the room as the spirits came to gather. It was as if they were aware of these hidden things, yet it was the first time I had heard such depth on the matter. How did these earth monsters come together and start this war? Do you know the pedophile island, the one where the sulfuric acid consumed the bodies of women and children? Because of the great fear of his people's extermination, the earth monster was willing to do anything, and so his country hired and paid a man by the name of Jeffrey Epstein. The longer it went on, the more they gave him millions upon millions. Now what was all this for? It was deception, hidden by very bad intentions. They used this American by the name of Jeffrey Epstein and bribed him with everything, be it islands, money, and mansions. He took it all, and what he created was a desirous and fantasy-filled island. From this they recruited the most powerful men and women, and they fed everyone. But as time went on, it grew more and more twisted. They tricked these powerful men and women by allowing them to sexually satisfy themselves with teenagers and children. And when things got out of hand, the earth monster and his country wanted to make sure they had supreme control over all visitors, and so they turned them into cannibals when they would add human remains into the fine dinners. This was done in a way to trap the powerful ones, because once their lustful desires and acts were committed, they were then bound by this deeper secret. The earth monster and his country used Epstein to entrap those by their own sins, making any fantasy possible, all while hiding their deepest intentions and most secret motives. Money wasn't the concern, but rather the earth monsters needed power. As the earth monsters and their countries seemed to be cornered, they did anything and everything to trap others. Once these powerful men and women were trapped, he had files and evidence of them fulfilling their most sinful obsessions. And since it was obscene, the deepest secrets were held in total silence. Then recently, more and more earth monsters would come into power, and so they went on to lie and make false promises to deceive many people. What was at stake was not just the future of a few countries, but rather these earth monsters refused to let their reputation turn into shambles. The earth monsters stated that the files will not be released, and that they would create war and chaos to distract the masses. And just as the citizens started to catch on to the pedophiles, the earth monsters knew that their final resort was to use war as a distraction. Since Iran had their own central bank, not connected to the rest, they used the war to block Iran's oil and energy, where the earth monsters created a point of stress. Meanwhile, the earth monsters celebrated this because their country was cornered. Now the world is at war because of only a few men and their own secret intentions to distract us from the truth as they send missiles across borders, said the spirit of the necklace. As the sun shone down, the birds sang while the reeds swayed, but I could not fathom just how badly the world had been betrayed. But why? Why would all this happen? How do men like that become such terrible monsters? Monsters like them have lost all joy, and you can see it in the way they speak and go on about their day. Their wives also feel betrayed, as the monsters have had affairs with the whore of Babylon, and the wives of these earth monsters have pulled away, since there is no longer love between them. This kills joy, and it's due to their own actions, and because they've lost their joy, they feel a great duty to bomb other nations. Once joy in life is lost, it seems a person gets quite angry and upset. Hence why these men will do anything, even start wars across the world, if it means distracting us so that they don't get caught, said the spirit of the necklace. So are we all doomed? Far from it. And although there seems to be a problem, there is a solution between all of this, and it is a union within the layers of existence. Do you know anyone who is connected to all traditions? Someone who can be a bridge of love between opposites. Someone who has been to Israel, received the transmission, and has also been initiated into Islam? Who has sought the teachings in the sacred sites of India, as well as throughout America? Within all hearts lives our hero, it said. Why, yes, one of these necklaces had come from Israel, and another from India. A different one was connected to the Islamic faith of the Arabs. It seemed that all these necklaces were of various traditions, but here in this dwelling by the marsh, we were connected by the essence of one pure spirit. It is impossible for one to conquer the other while living in the material world. No one can escape death. So then how stable are any of our lives? It seems at this point, the world is using up the resources of our children and grandchildren, as these monsters try to create a stable, secure situation. But when we look deeper from the level of spiritual or formless souls, the world's security isn't possible for the material world, because everything on earth is always changing. And what happens when stability is threatened? People tend to contract. If you've got an investment and it starts to change, when you can't quite stop it, you contract and the heart closes. From there, a person goes into their mind to try and solve it, to outwork it, to beat it, and finally, you call the threat an enemy, like the earth monsters did, and so they bomb it, then hide from it. This gets you into a lot of trouble, because the mind is in service of fear, and the quality of our thinking becomes the things we see in our reality. So everything around us becomes an object that we must defeat if we are to be free. All the outside people and influences become them. And the monster's rhetoric says they must be dealt with in order to protect our people and our land. The evil monsters among us say that in a few years they are going to build massive weapons, and so we must destroy them. Yet I think of one of the most powerful things I ever saw. There was a moment in the concentration camps where my father was weak and about to die, and my father had a crust of bread, and I had been such a loving son, devoted to my father, and I thought, the moment he dies, I'll get that crust of bread. It shattered me and my belief in God. My spirit broke, and I couldn't handle it because that evil also existed within me. Yet this evil, this sense of security, is a craving within all of humanity. It is within the survival of all human beings. Now, in this moment, we find ourselves in a practice to find a place within ourselves. And as we examine our lives, there is no way to depend on the material form of existence. There is a place within us, a place of presence, where we don't freak out about what's changing or the increasing chaos. It's going to be at that moment of chaos where those people who have some tiny degree of equanimity will be the thing around which we can unite in a stable shift that is healing instead of one that ultimately ends in destruction, said the Spirit.